Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Be a Better You podcast. My name is Allison K. Dagny. I am your host and subconscious reprogramming expert. I help women who are struggling in the aftermath of emotional and narcissistic abuse because I have been there and I tried everything to help myself heal. And it took me 4.5 years to realize that what I was doing just wasn't working. That's when I found the thing that truly, truly helps me. And that's why I'm here on this podcast to share these things with you. So I want to talk about rumination today. This is sort of my specialty here, where if you're stuck on these like mental loops where you're replaying memories, whether you're thinking about future fears, worries, or maybe even hopes of reconciliation or, things like that. Maybe you're checking their social media. Maybe you're doing drive-bys of their house. Maybe you're just wondering what went wrong. Then today's episode is for you. I want you to leave this episode feeling like you have control of your own mind, because the reality is you absolutely do. It just doesn't feel like that all the time. Now, before we get into this very deeply, I just want to let you know something very exciting that has been added to my programs. So typically, I only support people in a 12-week program, but recently I was on a group call with a bunch of women who were working on business strategy, and one of the ladies was really struggling with something personal. And I knew it had to do with her subconscious mind. So the leader of the group had said, "Hey, where are my mindset people? Who can help out with this?" And I raised my hand and I said, "I can help." And I asked her a couple of pointed questions, and immediately the lights went on for her and she had an epiphany. And I thought, wow, like if I can get someone to have an epiphany and shift in 2 minutes, what could I do in an hour? So I realize and know that no one is going to have permanent transformation in an hour, right? That's why I offer a 12-week program, but I can get people relief really quickly. So if this is something that you might be interested in, you can now schedule a one-time session with me for 60 minutes where I'm going to take the opportunity to get to know you and what's going on in your life that is either keeping you stuck, keeping you ruminating, keeping you sad, whatever that might be. And I'm going to help you get some shifts in the moment. So if this is something that you're interested in, you can check this out in the show notes on this episode. All right. Now, let's talk about this rumination stuff, right? You're thinking about either your ex or you're thinking about the pain that someone caused you all the time, right? And it is exhausting. And I'm going to go on a limb here and just guess that you just want to shut it off. But something keeps pulling you back in. And this is the part where most of us just feel utterly frustrated, because we could be doing something as mindless as walking the dog, driving the car, and then all of a sudden our brain just starts going to these places. And it's so hard to turn it off. If we're distracted, or if we're busy and our minds are focused on something, or we are, watching a show or doing something, sometimes we can have that mental break where we're not thinking about it all the time. But as soon as that noise shuts off, as soon as that distraction is over, it goes right back. And so sometimes you might feel like maybe there's something wrong with me. Why can't my brain just turn off? Why do I keep thinking about it? And oftentimes, we don't even want to be with that other person anymore. Maybe we do, but often we don't. Often we just want to not be thinking about it. And if you've listened to this podcast before, you understand that the reason that this happens, the reason rumination actually happens, isn't because you want to be thinking about it. It's because you have thought about it so many times that your brain decided for you to make it automatic. because your brain's job is to make life easier for you, right? So if you do something enough times, it becomes automatic, and it's no different with your thinking. So the more you think about something, the more automatic it becomes. I mean, if you think about people who are really negative in general, like you're like, man, that person's so negative all the time. Well, it's because they've created thought loops and patterns that are set up for that automatic negativity. So if somebody's going to try to shift their mindset and think more positively, often it's hard because they've created this habit. And this is what happens with rumination. And so again, there's lots of ways rumination presents itself. It can be thinking of things in the past. It can be like replaying those old painful memories. It can be reminiscing on the good times, and those keep coming up. It could be, questioning things, asking why, and I wonder, and trying to make sense of things that don't make sense, and just continuing to allow that to repeat in your brain. And it could even be these like kinds of fantasy ruminations of the future, of like made up stories, or like you're creating these stories in your head about what could happen in the future, or what you hope would happen in the future. And again, these are all forms of rumination. So if you find yourself stuck in any of those, then you know how maddening that this really can be on a day-to-day basis. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the subconscious mind, and for those of you who are, I'm just going to give a quick recap on something that I think is really important for everyone to know, is that your thoughts create your emotions, and then your emotions dictate your behaviors. So if your thoughts are ruminating all the time on this or that or the other, whatever that might be, and that creates a state of emotion for you, whether that's longing, whether that's regret, whether that's fear, whatever that might be, that is then going to dictate how you show up in the world, what you do. Those emotions are going to dictate your behavior. I mean, think about like if you are having a really great day and you're really happy and you're just feeling really lit up and excited, you might be like, I'm going to go outside and do something. Like you feel really motivated. But if you're really sad and you're really bummed and you're just like in a bad mood, you might just want to lay in bed all day, right? And that's because your emotions are dictating your behavior. So when we're ruminating on things, that can lead to behaviors that are directly a result of those feelings and emotions. So for instance, if you're, ruminating about why your ex did this, or maybe they're living their best life, or they're having more fun and, they're moved on while you're stuck, you might find yourself looking for evidence as to prove that or disprove that. So you might be looking on their social media, you might be asking about them to mutual friends. And what that does is those behaviors reinforce the rumination. So the more you do it, the more ruminating that's going to happen. Okay? So this is important to know. Something else that's really important to know is that this is so normal. Okay? Especially after emotional trauma, emotional abuse, betrayal, any of these things, right, is absolutely going to result in this kind of behavior for most people, okay? So if you are doing this, please don't be ashamed. Please don't beat yourself up over it, because these are normal things. Like this is just a program that has been instilled upon your brain because of what happened to you. And that is normal. Your brain is trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you safe, okay? And the ruminating, even though it's, maddening and it drives you crazy, it does serve a purpose, right? And often that purpose is to help you feel safe, because maybe the more I think about it, the more answers I'll get. And if I get answers, then I can heal, right? And not necessarily that that's true, but it is the way that your brain operates so that you suffer the least, even though it feels like you're suffering the most. Okay, so let's talk about why you can't just like logic your way out of this and think your way out of this. Okay, even when you know it's not helping you and you still can't stop. Why is that, right? Why is that? Because you know in your brain, I need to stop. I need to stop thinking about it. But it's not about logic, okay, at all. Your brain is not in a logical position when it's ruminating. It's literally just scanning and trying to make sense of everything. And often we don't have the answers. And so we end up thinking and thinking and thinking so much looking for the answers that now it's an automatic pattern in our brain. But the good news is we can always change those patterns. Those patterns aren't fixed and they're not permanent. So what's happening is protection. Your nervous system is wired for protection. It's wired to help you feel safe and help you feel certain, and maybe even sometimes seek closure, right? To close those open loops and to create some sort of finality for you. It's trying to make sense of the pain that you're experiencing, again, which then when you do that leads to more rumination. So you might be saying, well, like, how do I stop trying to make sense of it because I need it to make sense? Well, the first thing that we need to talk about, and I will address that, is that number one, you're not broken. Your brain isn't broken. Your body isn't broken. Your nervous system isn't broken. It's all trying to help you. But here's the thing. It needs new instructions. I want you to think about like a robot. I use this analogy with my clients all the time. If you had a robot, and let's say like any sort of like programmable robot in your house, and that robot was amazing and it could do all kinds of things, and you tell that robot that every day at 12 o'clock, you want it to make you a full lunch and deliver it to you in your kitchen. Okay. Well, if let's say one day you are on a call and you get really far behind and you are not able to get to the kitchen at 12 and you end up getting to the kitchen at 1. And by the time you get to the kitchen, your food is cold. And maybe your dog jumped up there and ate some of it. You can't get mad at the robot for doing what it did because that's what it was programmed to do. Its job was to deliver it at 12. But if ahead of time you knew, oh wait, I'm getting behind here, I need to tell the robot to make the food at 1, right? You had programmed it to do something different. So you are operating on your programming since the day you were born, and continued reinforced programs from trauma through your life, from experiences, from abuse, from all kinds of things, right? Your programming is the lens with which you see the world. It's how you feel based on the things that happen around you. And then how you feel is going to then dictate how you behave. So you are not broken. Your brain is not broken. Your nervous system is not broken, right? We just need to give all of those parts of you new instructions. And that's a really, really powerful place to be, to know that that is possible for you. So the nervous system, I do want to touch on because we are not just our brain, okay? Yes, we have a brain and we have a spinal cord and we have all of these external sensory areas of input, like our sight and our taste and our sound and touch, all of those things, right? We have all of this stuff that contributes to our nervous system. And we have to have a calm nervous system, number one, but not only a calm nervous system, we have to have a resilient and adaptive nervous system. It's not enough to just be calm all the time. That is not actually realistic. What is more realistic is that our nervous system is structured in a way, or that we have sort of molded it in a way that it is able to adapt and bounce back and work for us instead of always feeling like it's working against us. So a lot of times I think people think that they have to be calm all the time. Their nervous system has to be calm all the time. But, that's not really realistic, because think about times when you were really excited and really passionate about something. You weren't calm in that moment. You weren't like in that state of rest and digest, or that like the parasympathetic nervous system where you're like asleep or you're just really relaxed. So it's not realistic to say that we should always have a calm nervous system. Now, I'm sure if you've been on edge and you've experienced abuse, that you would like to be in that calm state a lot. And that's great. But the goal isn't to have it calm all the time. The goal is to have it be able to work for us, be resilient and adaptable. That's the most important thing. So when we're talking about rumination, oftentimes we are only thinking about the brain and we're not thinking about the body. But we have to consider the body because we are human and we're not just these spiritual beings, right? Yes, we are, but we are in a human physical form. And the parts of our nervous system that are connected to our body and all of our bodily functions are being impacted. So especially people who are like, if you're ruminating all the time and you also are somebody who's dissociated from your feelings, that is something that is really key to start to get reconnected with your body. And the reason that this helps you is because when you can feel into your body, like you feel, let's say that you're ruminating over the past and you feel a lot of regret or a lot of guilt or a lot of shame for whatever happened, that might be somewhere settled, that emotion in your body, and you may not even realize it. And you keep repeating these thoughts in your head over and over and over again, and that is keeping your nervous system dysregulated. So what about if we start to figure out where that emotion is in our body? So what about if you feel it in your throat? What about if you feel it in your chest? What about if you feel it in your gut, right? What about if you feel it in your extremities, like your hands or your feet or your face? There's a lot of ways that this presents itself, and everyone is different. But it's really important to not just focus on, oh, the ruminating and I can't stop thinking and I can't stop thinking. Like, wait, let's pull back and get into our bodies. Maybe we can get ourselves some clarity here by checking in with where this feeling is sitting inside of our physical form first, allowing some of that to move through our bodies, and then connecting with the mind. This is all really important stuff because it will help you get to the root beneath the spiral, the thing that's creating all of that emotional upset from the thoughts. Okay, so before I mentioned that I would come back to this, like, well, how do I make sense of it if it's not making sense? Well, here are some questions that you can ask yourself to get to the bottom of this. When it comes to the constant questioning, the wondering, maybe even the wishing and hoping that things would have been different or that they will be different in the future. These are all the things that a lot of times are driving rumination. So what you want to ask yourself is, do I really need to have the answers in order to be happy? That's number one. And see, like, really think through that. Like, your first instinct may be like, yes. But if the answer is yes, what if you never get those answers? What if you never get it? Who's got the power over you for your happiness for the rest of your life? Okay? If there are other things that are coming up for you, you're thinking, you're wondering, you're questioning, if your mind is taking you to a place of, I will never be able to get over this unless, insert the blank, then what is that doing for you? How is that actually helping you? And here's a really important question. What if you let this go? What if you did let it go? What if you did let go of this need to have the answers, to know what was going to happen, to maybe let go of the regret of the past that you keep ruminating over? What would that mean if you let it go? And I would really take some time and think about that. And when I say this, I mean like almost like a meditative state. Like if you're just driving and you have no music on and you're just like kind of entering that like meditative state when you drive, or if you're taking a shower or a walk, right? These are really good places that your mind can kind of start drifting off into those areas. Or just put on some meditation music while you're sitting alone in your ears and really just think about that question. Just think about it, and see what comes up for you. And this is how I get a lot of my insight and revelation for myself, is by meditating. So what would it mean if you let this go? And I want you to be aware that sometimes we immediately jump to, well, it would mean that I would be happy, or it would mean that everything would be great. And yes, that's true, but that's the conscious side of your brain that's talking. We need to speak to the subconscious. So is there something that you're getting, some benefit that you get from constantly replaying these memories or holding on to it and not letting go? So having these kinds of insightful questions can really bring about insight for you. Now, this leads me to reminding you about these breakthrough sessions that I'm doing, because these breakthrough sessions are just like this, except for when I'm talking to you, it's about your specific thing versus me generally speaking about it on a podcast episode. I'm going to want to know your details. I'm going to know what is causing you the pain, or you the rumination, or the regret, or the, need for closure, or whatever. And so my job isn't to give you the answers. My job is to help you find the answers on your own. And that's through the powerful questions that I have and the way that I do my coaching. And I wanted to offer these because I know not everyone wants to commit to a 12-week program. I know not everyone has the resources to commit to a 12-week program, or maybe even the time. So I put together a download with powerful questions that can help you stop the spiral, to get you some insights. And if you DM me on Instagram or Facebook, I will send that to you. So if you're interested in that, just let me know. Now, just as a quick word of encouragement, I just want you to remember that even if you feel stuck is a temporary state of being. It's not like your permanent reality. And you are just on a loop, that you've been shown is your reality right now, but it's not your permanent reality, okay? You need to know how to break that loop, and you just haven't been taught that yet, and that's okay. I can help you do that in my one-on-one programs, or in my $15 Break Free from Rumination course, in my I'm Worthy Immersion program. There's lots and lots of ways that I can help you with this. So if you are someone who is fighting with this rumination day in and day out, you're always trying to distract yourself, you feel like you can't be present with the people who you love because it just has such a hold on you, then please know that there's nothing wrong with you. It's just your brain's wiring. We can rewire it. And it's really not as hard as people think. Does it take commitment? Yes, 100%. It's not going to be an overnight fix. That's why my breakthrough session is to help you kind of kickstart that, to give you the insights and the revelations that you need. But if you want to do the deeper work, then you can do that too. You can do that in my one-on-one 12-week program as well. So I hope this has given you some things to think about, some encouragement that you can change the ruminating, and it's not something that you're destined to feel forever and ever. It's not something that you're destined to feel for months or years even. You can stop it. It's not going to change by just thought alone. You're going to have to engage your body some, and you are going to need to practice. But if you're up for it, I'm here to help. So I appreciate you being here. If you do like my podcast, I would greatly appreciate it if you could go to wherever you listen and leave me a review, preferably 5 stars if you would. Reviews on our podcast really, really help because it shows other people and other listeners that you like it, and that means that they might tune in. So helps to spread the word and get this out to other people to help them be the best versions of themselves that they can be too. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you guys next week.